The playoffs are going strong, but the Flames have some real big questions that need some answers. Let's go.
Well, in Conroy's first offseason, he pretty much spent the whole thing cleaning up Tree Living's mess. Has done so pretty much all year, and finally kind of has his own stamp on the team. He's got a lot of work to do this upcoming offseason, though. Quite a lot, actually. More than a lot of the people think. Let's get into it, Chris.
It was an awful mess that he started with. He's started the process and has done very well at acquiring assets and not letting people walk for nothing, which is great. Which we're not used to that under the True Living era. So, but you're right. He's got a lot of work to do, and that's really only begun. Sure, he's picked up the assets, but we have a lot of players that are potentially coming off the books, or maybe being re-signed. We don't know. So there's a lot of things. The draft is going to be huge this year for him. We need to see what Conroy can do with more picks than we started the season with. So let's see what his plan is. Let's see how it plays out.
Yeah. Now, I don't want to get into players that the Flames, should draft or whatever, because, everybody wants, or most people want us to get a Ginla or whatever, but let's not get into that too much today. I do want to talk a little bit about the draft, though, just because I think Conroy wants to and should probably try his best to either get one more first-round pick for this year or move up with Vancouver's. I think that moving up with ours is going to cost too much, but if moving up with a 25th to 15th or something like that probably wouldn't be that expensive.
Yeah, where do you want to see them with that other pick from Vancouver's?
Where do I want them to move up to?
Yeah.
I mean, ideally top 10, but I don't think that's really possible. I think probably 15 to 15 to 18, something like that.
Yeah, potentially having a situation where we go back to back on picks, so we can, at first get the player that is best at that time. Whether it be the position doesn't matter. Let them get the best player available, and then on their second one they can somewhat be a little more creative if need be.
Yeah, and even if it's not back to back, you can do that. Having two relatively close picks like that is really the only time I advocate for actually drafting for position with one of your picks instead of going with the best player available. You have to have really close picks. You can also draft for position later in the draft, in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, even 3rd round maybe. But in the first 2 rounds, you should be going with the best player available on your list, in my opinion. So if you're getting, let's say, I'm not even looking at a list right now, but let's just say somebody who's around the 10th, 11th, 12th spot wants to get Markstrom, right?
Right.
Now, you're not going to trade Markstrom straight up for the 10th, 11th, or 12th pick, right? But I think maybe Markstrom and Vancouver's pick could probably do that. And then you have a back-to-back pick. So then you can pick the best player available with Calgary's 9th overall pick. And then you can kind of go off the board a tiny little bit to draft for the position that you want.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's good too. I, I'm concerned about the Markstrom situation, to be honest with you. He left such a sour taste in everybody's mouth, in my opinion, in the last couple of weeks of the season. Doing, I mean, what I would call a tantrum type move and or a hissy fit. I didn't like his professionalism, how he ended the season at all. And I hope that doesn't hurt his uh his trade position as far as other teams are concerned. But
I hope not as well. I've heard lots of people, people in the know, the insiders or whatever. I've heard them saying that a lot of teams know the position Markstrom was put in, losing the entire second pair and losing, quote unquote, the best defensive forward on the team in Lindholm, whatever. Number one penalty kill center, number one center, and the whole second pair, who also was your first penalty killing pair, your stats are going to go down. I'm not so worried about him losing value because his numbers went down a little bit in the final little bit of the season there. I'm more worried about, like you said, his attitude and kind of when it comes to, I don't know if this is how you feel, but kind of when it comes to him possibly fully using that no move clause and being like, it's either this one place or fucking nowhere, and then the Flames will be hooped.
yeah, I kind of get that sense a little bit that he's pissed off to the point where he wants to dictate what's happening moving forward. Because of how they handled that whole situation with Jersey or whatever potentially it was, right?
And I mean, I kind of get being upset by that. I do, like being asked to waive your no trade clause because something is done, and then that thing not actually being done after you've done so. You're getting ready to leave, and you're not leaving. But like as you said, hissy fit, maybe not the words I'd used, but your words, hissy fit, maybe shouldn't last for like a month and a half. Like, get it out in the media like he did on the trade deadline, get it out, and then move on.
Yeah, he pulled that right into the exit interview.
Right into the exit. And honestly, his exit interview is the only one I put any merit in. Because let's just talk about exit interviews for a second.
Sure.
What have we learned over the last 2 years in exit interviews? Let's talk about the players who said they want to stay. Johnny Gaudreau, Matthew Tkachuk, Tyler Toffoli, Nikita Zadorov. Where the fuck are they all?
Exactly.
Let's talk about the main guy who was kind of iffy about it. Michael Backlund signed a new contract. I put absolutely nothing at all into exit interviews. Fuck that.
No, there's a certain set of sentences you're supposed to say, and they all know it. Everybody knows it. It's fine. I understand the reason. I get it, sort of. I'd rather a lot more realism coming from them personally, but it is what it is. The media is a giant animal, and you can't mess with it. Oh yeah, I want to. This is where I want to win. I got the future. I'll be honest with you though. The only one that I also kind of am getting a good feeling for is Uyghur. I
don't
think he wants to actually be. Yeah, I think he honestly wants to be part of something special and be part of a rebuild that can really be competitive in a couple of years. I think he wants that that ownership role, if you will, or that lead role. And honestly, I think it suits him great. Like he's really stepped up in the leadership role on the Flames in the last year. I can't get enough of what he's doing right now. And I mean, I take it as stock, or I'm hoping. I guess that's more me than anything. I'm hoping that what he's saying is accurate, because I do want him to be part of this moving forward, because I think he's going to be very very key to the development of the kids coming in.
The
Teaching them how to
culture
be a
of the team.
professional on and off the ice. Yeah. No, I think he's the guy that we want teaching the kids right now. Now the tandem's gone, we're going to have somebody that that steps up in that role for the D-men.
Yeah, and honestly, I thought it was going to be Rasmus Anderson because because of how the contracts end at the same time with Backlund. I figured um, because his contract ends at the same time as Backlund, I figured that he was going to extend and get the captaincy because last year he seemed like a really good captain, but like a really good leader. This year, kind of, he still did, but Uyghur seemed more so, and he backed it up with his play as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, um, anything can happen in another couple years here until Backlund's gone, or um, resigns, maybe, who knows,
Mm-hmm.
retires, whatever happens.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I kind of
nothing would
agree with
make me
you on that.
happier than having Anderson step up into that role that we thought he was going to be, right?
What's
You
that,
know,
sir?
that- I said nothing would make me happier than watching Anderson step up into that role. I mean, I want him to succeed. He's a really good defenseman, and it's shitty that he had such a struggle for more than a year.
Yeah,
And that's hard to watch, right? Because
yeah.
we just saw him just climbing up and up and up the ladder, and just his play improving year after year after year, and then
He looked like he
bang,
was
all
going
of
to
a
be a
sudden,
first defenseman. Like he looked like he was
hundred
going to
percent.
be a bona fide, maybe
Mhm,
not franchise defenseman, but he looked like he was going to be a bona fide number one defenseman that could anchor a power play, and
mhm.
he looked like he was primed for that.
Yeah,
And I don't know what happened this year. He just had a
yeah,
baby though, so congratulations to him.
that's right. Yeah, that was just a couple of days ago, wasn't it?
I
Yeah,
believe so.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I
Something
know he
it was
was
a while ago.
staying in
That's good.
Calgary because his wife was going to give birth here. So um, Tessa, I believe. But yeah,
Yep. Yeah,
um,
congratulations for sure.
yeah. But no, I agree with you when it comes and then just back to the uh, exit interviews for a second here. Like so many people, I know this happened a couple weeks ago. We haven't had a show for a little while, but people were upset and judging Sharon Govich by what he said. Like, oh, I don't know what's happening right now when he was asked about
Mhm.
possibly signing an extension with the Flames. And like, first off, the guy just got eliminated. Like, not just got eliminated, but his season just ended. The guy can barely speak English. It was
Yeah,
the tail end of his exit day interview. The first time he's ever done that in the Canadian market. Like,
yeah. Well,
have you not learned anything from the rest of the interviews he's ever had? Let's just calm down for a second and not actually like, do I think he wants to resign? I have no idea. Do I think he doesn't? I have no idea because how are you supposed to get a
yeah.
read off that guy? You just can't,
Well,
right?
yeah. With the language barrier issue, and he doesn't. I mean, he doesn't really show a lot of emotion in any of his interviews, right? Because he's trying to focus on speaking English. Personally, that's what I think. That
And
he's
understanding it.
yeah, exactly. Like I'm not faulting him for that at all. I'm just
No,
saying that like he's
it's just
trying to
different language.
focus on being able to communicate properly. That emotion doesn't really come into play there, right?
Yeah,
He's not super comfortable or whatever you want to call it, super comfortable even
yeah.
speaking English. So yeah,
Basically,
I
what I'm
don't I
saying
don't
is
take a lot of
we'll
stock in
see
him either.
means we'll see, not no.
Right. And he still has another full season, right? We have a lot of time. Craig has a lot of time to figure that out. If by the time the season starts, if he's starting to get resistance, then we'll know. Because I think he'll get rid of him because he's proven that he's not going to let these guys walk for free. And
Absolutely.
Sharon Govich has greatly increased his stock.
Yeah,
So I
we'll get
mean,
into all that in a little bit here. Uh,
mm,
so back to what Conroy's got to do in the offseason. Obviously, I was saying he's got to move up in the first round or get another first round pick. We kind of touched on this a little bit, but I fix the goaltending situation, whether that means finding a new home for Vladar, finding a new home for Markstrom, maybe both. He's got to figure it out, because whether or not Wolf is the guy that a lot of people think he's going to be, or whether he's not, whether he's the next UC Soros or whether he's the next Mason McDonald, like, we don't know, but we need to see, like, where the Flames are in their developmental cycle. Having a goalie like Dustin Wolf starting roughly half the games is what you need. And the chances of that happening with both Vladar and Markstrom on the team at the same time seems very low, unless you're waiving Vladar and he clears and goes to the minors, which I think could happen, but I don't know. That's Craig has to figure out.
It could happen with Vladar for sure. I think I personally think Craig's gonna get rid of him for like a fourth or fifth round pick kind of thing, maybe to an organization that may want to take a chance on him, but or in more reality wants somebody to play on their AHL affiliate, or I don't see a lot of future in Vladar anymore. I did up until maybe the last couple of weeks of the season. I thought that he could turn it around, but he had 2 full seasons of not great play. I can't say 2 full seasons. He started last, like the 22-23 season, off pretty strong. I thought he did a really good job when Markstrom was suffering severely at the beginning of the season. I thought Vladar stepped up pretty well, but that teetered off near the end of the season.
So he had surgery for a nagging, I believe, I could be wrong on this, but I believe a hip injury that's been bothering him since the beginning of last year.
Right.
So that could be part of it. It probably is part of it, but I kind of agree with you. I like Vladar. He seems like a good player to have on the bench. If you're going to have a backup goalie who sits 25 games, who only plays 25 games a season and sits the rest of them, having a guy like him on the bench to rally the troops seems like a good idea. But
yeah,
I also want somebody who's likable, proven, especially if they're going to trade Markstrom, which I really think is going to happen. I want somebody who's a proven tandem goalie, whether it's Peter Mrazek is coming up, who's probably a little bit more than the tandem goalie. Whether you're trading for somebody, I was thinking Marc-Andre Fleury, but he just got re-signed or extended rather. I was thinking Jake Allen out of New Jersey, somebody like that who can take half or over half the starts if they need to. Who's proven they can, get league average or maybe slightly better goaltending, and who can give Wolf a break when he needs one, because you can't have Wolf starting all the time, but having him start roughly half the games, whether it's a little bit less or a little bit more than half the games, you need that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, and obviously next year's the year to see what. Yeah, next year's the year to see what we have in Wolf, right? Either he steps it up and he shows that he's going to be the future in net moving forward, which great, or he doesn't. But next year we need to find out, and we need to know what direction we need to do in the 2025 draft. To see if we need to solidify a goaltending role.
Yeah. Moving on, next thing that I was thinking that needs to be on Craig's agenda, and honestly, I don't even think this should be on his agenda, but he's already said it's going to be, finding chemistry for Huberdeau, whether that's a trade or free agency. I am terrified that he means Sam Reinhart, not because I don't like Sam Reinhart, but because he's like the last thing the Flames need right now is another fucking $10.5 million player.
Mhm.
But I
Are you more
think he
terrified
means
of that or
probably
the other
Duclair.
Sam?
What's that?
You sure it's not the other Sam that you're more terrified about?
Well, he's not going to. Sam Bennett. If Sam Bennett decides, or if they decide to trade for Sam Bennett, like whatever,
I,
that's it's.
I on a personal level, I really hope we do because I want to watch you and Richard go at it online. I think it's gonna be glorious.
You want to watch me have a fucking mental
Yeah,
breakdown?
100%. I am
But
gonna screenshot the shit out of so many conversations. It's gonna be fantastic.
yeah, no, I totally get that. But that's still a better outcome than signing a too long for too much contract for a guy coming off a career season like Reinhardt.
Yeah,
Um,
no, for
I
sure it is. Yeah,
and the other thing is like if it's not Reinhardt, like Duclair, it seems like a decent shot that it's Duclair because he's coming off of his most recent contract.
Mhm.
Huberdeau has proven to have chemistry with him,
Mhm.
but first of all, I don't
Yeah,
think you should be out trying to overpay to find somebody who, just to get Huberdeau going. But
right.
also, we have so many wingers we like waiting, whether it's Coronado, Peltier, like those guys don't need bottom line minutes anymore. And adding another middle six winger, it's one thing if you're adding a superstar player, but if you're adding a middle six winger, all you're doing is stunting their growth. And the same if you're adding a middle six, like let's say they do get Sam Bennett, they're adding a
Mhm.
middle six center. Well, then what's Zari doing? Like what, right? Like you're
Yeah,
taking Zari away from what he's starting to prove that he can do. Why? Right? Like let's let our players develop instead of throwing like there's already enough obstacles in their way. Mangiapane's still here. Like what the fuck? Coleman's still here. I love Coleman, but what are we doing here?
yeah,
How are
yeah.
you supposed to
No,
let your guys develop if you keep throwing more middle six forwards into the group?
yeah, no, I agree 100%. Right. That should be the mantra. Let's see what we've been looking at for the A roster for the last couple of years and wondering what these players are. Now's the time to see what they are,
Yeah.
right? You know, I mean, who is like, does he have chemistry with Schwind? Does he have chemistry with Peltier? Like Coronado? Like there's so many, right? That let's see. We don't. I don't think we need to start pulling the trigger on bringing in big players. Not saying that Sam Bennett's a big player, but I don't think we need to pull the trigger on bringing $5 million to $10 million players in just to see if they might have a chance to spark up chemistry with Huberto.
Yeah. And like to me, the last 20 games of the season, you had Huberto showing chemistry with Zari. You had
Mhm.
Huberto showing chemistry with Sharon Govich pretty much all season. Why they kept splitting them up, I have no fucking idea. But I do think that adding more instead of trying to find from within at this point in the Flames developmental cycle is not the right idea unless it's like a superstar player
Mhm.
and it's not going to cost you too much and that just doesn't seem plausible. Or
No,
or if it's another 24-year-old or under who's got
sure.
a
Yeah,
massive potential. And I'm not at all saying this is possible because the Kings are not gonna fucking they'd match any offer sheet or anything like that. But let's just say, for the sake of saying it, Quentin Byfield, right? Somebody
mm.
like that, yes. But
Obviously you pull the trigger on that. You'd be stupid not to.
exactly.
Yeah.
right? Somebody who's fits the Flames age group for development in the future, not
Mhm.
a 29, 30, 31-year-old free agent.
Yeah. Yeah. But
I
I
feel
mean,
different on defense because I don't think we have any NHL ready prospects at this point, and I think we need another
Mhm.
top four defenseman. We've gotten into this in our last episode a little bit, but
yeah.
um, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, we don't have a lot of really good defensemen in our system at all, right? Outside of, one or two players that we have already for the Flames, but anything coming up, we have Jeremy Poirier, which, he's still only 21 years old, right?
yeah.
He's spent a lot of last year not playing because of injury. So I mean, there's, in my opinion, there's one more year stunted in his growth. So, which is super unfortunate.
We've got
Mhm.
Etienne Morin, we've got Hunter Brustevich, but neither of those guys. Like I think
Mhm.
Brustevich has only played a couple of pro games in the AHL. He's
Yep.
an absolute stud in the OHL, but
Mhm.
there's two whole more levels for him to climb, and expecting him to do that in 1 or 2 years isn't really fair. Like if it
Well, it isn't.
happens, great, that's fantastic, but
Mhm.
expecting it isn't really okay, in my opinion. And
No,
Morin, I
exactly.
think he's going to be great, but that's going to be even longer than Brustevich, in my opinion. It's probably going to be 3 or 4 years,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. No,
Um,
100%. Because I mean, we're talking about young guys here, right? And defensemen do generally take longer to develop than forwards do. Um, so yeah, I mean, I obviously I hope they develop into something great, but I mean, you have to be realistic.
yeah, absolutely. So that leads me into our next thing here for getting a top four defenseman. I don't want to lock any top four defenseman up for several years or
Mhm.
anything like that. If you can get a 1, 2, maybe 3 year deal on a proven, whether it's a veteran or it's a relatively younger player, but somebody who can take top 4 minutes and play well there, I think that's got to be on his Conroy's list of things to do. Especially if it's a guy who you can get a handshake deal with and be like, this year at the deadline, we will trade you to a contender, whether it's a second round pick, a late first round pick, couple
Mhm.
prospects, whatever, that type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't like I've already written off next season, so I'm not too eager to pull the trigger on that just yet. I definitely want to have a season of let's see what we have in the cupboard. Um, unless something falls in the lap, then obviously you got to jump on it. But I don't want us to be spending assets for that type of role yet. Unless it's something minimal for more of a minute muncher than anything.
Oh, and I'm, by the way, just so you know, I'm talking like free agency only. I'm not talking
Right.
about spending assets on it. I'm talking about like a 2 or 3, like 1, 2, 3 year maximum free
Okay.
agent
Yeah, I can get on board with that
tradable
before.
type of thing.
Mhm.
Somebody
Yeah.
who wants to prove that maybe they just had a down year. They want to prove they're better so they can go out and get a bigger contract next year. Somebody like that,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and I have no problem even taking on a big contract from free agency for a 1 year with the understanding that that player is going to be dealt at the deadline next year.
yeah,
For more assets. I have no problem with that at all.
those things help rebuilds
Mhm.
get faster, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. If
that's
we
the way I look
if
at
you can
that.
pull another, first or a second out of the 2025 draft class, then why not? Right?
2026, 2027, whatever,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't have all of your picks coming from the same draft, but at the same time, More picks help. Um,
Yep.
Another thing I want to say is opening forward spots, which kind of ties into what we were saying before about maybe not going after a Duclair. I do think that Conroy said he wants to find somebody who has some chemistry with Huberdeau, but I think we have to open forward spots, not fill forward spots. I think
Yeah.
Peltier, like, he had a nightmare season. He was injured all the time. Coronado spent some time scratched, a lot of time in the AHL. I don't think he's a fourth liner. He seemed to start to play well on the fourth line for the last 5 or 6 games, really well,
Mhm.
actually. I want to see him
Yeah.
on Backlund's line. I want to see Peltier on Backlund's line, or Coronado on Backlund's line, or both of them, or on the second line, or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
I'm tired of those guys being fourth liners. Maybe Peltier could develop into a fourth liner for his career. Who knows? But you don't know until you give them enough leeway to see. And right now,
Yeah.
there's just too many guys in the way. I do not want to trade Coleman. I think he's a great leader and a great guy for the,
Mhm.
the youngsters to learn from. Same with
Yeah.
Backlund. If one of them wants out, then do it. But I don't think either of them do. Mangiapane needs to get the fuck off the team. He's
Yep.
in the way. That's all he ever is. He's in the fucking way of
Yeah.
everybody except the opponent.
Yeah.
And
And Coronado or Peltier can easily slot into his role. Easily.
I think Peltier's game style is perfect. I think I've been saying this
Mhm.
for 2 years now. Peltier's game style is perfect to just take Mangiapane out, take that fucking $5.8 million out, and put Peltier in.
Mhm.
Just a very similar game without all the falling over. Needs a little bit more confidence. But he's got upside that Mangiapane doesn't have, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. He's
he's
got.
like $5 million cheaper.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we don't have anybody coming off the books in the forest position other than AJ Greer. So it's going to have to come in the way of trade. Like let's get rid of you know Mangiapane. Do we trade Kevin Rooney? I don't mind having him around either. Like he seems to want to be here, but you know, I think Walker Duer potentially is going to spend a bunch of time down in the A next year, unless he can show that he's taken a step forward instead of 2 steps back like he did this last season.
yeah.
And I'm not sold on Dryden Hunt.
I don't think Dewar is standing in anyone's way.
No, I don't think so either. No,
um,
I agree. And same with Hunt. Really, okay, he's definitely only a fourth line player in my opinion. If he wasn't there, I would not be heard about it.
so with Hunt, I think he's got a little bit of chemistry with Huberdeau. He works hard, all that type of stuff. But
Oh yeah,
you can have chemistry with somebody who's above your head. And like
yeah.
if Huberdeau is doing what we want Huberdeau to do, then that's way far above Hunt's head, right?
Well, yeah.
He
Huberdeau
doesn't belong
needs a
like
scorer.
Hunt's fine. Whatever. If Hunt or Dewar or Rooney or Greer or any of those guys are the 13th forward, the 12th forward, or the 13th forward on our team, I'm fine with that. None of them should be second liners.
No, no, not at all. No, Hunt is in way over his head. Sure, I mean he put in effort. I will not fault him for that at all.
Yeah.
And I suppose there was a little bit of chemistry, but Huberdeau doesn't need a Dryden Hunt. Huberdeau needs a shooter that can hit the net.
He needs Sharon Govich, Kuzmenko, someone like that.
Somebody like that. Yeah. The chase for the Stanley Cup is on. And if you're looking to light the lamp, nothing beats the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. From the start of the playoff periods all the way to the hoisting of the cup, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered with same-game parlays, live betting, odds boost, and so much more. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. New customers bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's code THPN, only at DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/ice for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Copyright NHL 2024, all rights reserved.
I want to do a little rapid fire with you. This is the last thing that's on Conroy's list for me, and it's quite a long list of things that kind of all melt into one. It's all of our expiring contracts on July 1st or next July 1st. So for those who don't know, this July 1st, you can start extending players who are expiring the next July. So I've got some things I want to ask you. I'll start with guys who we maybe should or shouldn't re-sign this upcoming offseason, who are coming off the books right now. Most of them are minor players, but some of them aren't. So Wolf.
So you want me to answer that? I think we have to sign Wolf. We need to. I say give him a 2-year at this point.
Yep, I'm good with that. 2-3 year. I'm good with that. Oliver Shillington.
I'd be okay with him coming back as a try me. I want him to take a pay cut.
I'd be okay with the same.
Another 2-year, agreed. Yeah.
2-year, the same as he's making right now.
Yeah.
Maybe a tiny little bit more, but not significant at all.
And I don't want him to make what he makes now.
I feel like that's what I think that's what's going to happen, anyways.
And
I wouldn't really
I
be
feel like
pissed
he owes
off
us.
about it.
I think he owes us 3 to 3.5 mil. So if he's doing a 2-year deal, I want it to be, anywhere from $700 to $1 million less than what he's being paid now.
Yeah. Well, I think it's probably going to be a 1-year deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would likely be the case too.
Jacob Peltier.
I think we still need to see what he is.
Yeah.
I think he just suffered more from. No, I'm not willing to throw in the towel on Peltier. He's only 23 years old. Yes, I say we do because he's still an RFA, so let's give him a 2-year to get him into. Would a 2-year get him into UFA status, and then we see what we have in him.
How old is he? 23. 23. I think you're right on that one then. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I don't really want to walk him to UFA, but whatever.
Yeah. Or we do one more. Yeah, or do a 3-year and take one of those years out of the UFA for it, I guess maybe.
Yeah.
I think we need to make a decision on him within the next 2 years, to see what he can do. But I want him to have the chance to show it.
Okay. Dennis Gilbert. Okay. Let me rephrase that. Yeah. Dennis Gilbert, Jordan Osterley, Nikita Ohochuk, all of these 7th defensemen that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need all of them?
Do we need any of them?
Hall, I think he's more than the seventh, but
I think, yeah, Bahal, I would say definitely. I
Hanley,
do want to see more of him. I like how he sticks up for his players, and I don't find him to be a defensive liability. And he's
I'd love
within
to
that
keep him. I like.
under 25. He's under that 25 range that we want.
He's also
Hanley,
an extend, so he has another year left. He's
yeah,
not. He's not
exactly.
expiring. He would be an extension.
He would be an extension as well as he's an RFA at the end of that 2 year as well. So
So you don't even have to do it.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, but for me, Bahal, yes, extend him.
Yeah.
Gilbert, he's 27 years old. He had a really good year last year, in my opinion, in in the limited time he had. This year, I don't think he showed me anything worth another contract. Um, so I mean, if we can sign him to a deal where we can bounce him down into the A, then sure. If he sticks around to be the seventh, okay, I guess, but I don't really see a lot of future in him. To be honest with you, he was, he grew on me the first year. The second year, I really could care less if he was on the team.
I think he's a fine 7,
Yeah,
and that's about it.
exactly.
So if he wants to stay at, 900K, maybe 950, something like that,
Mhm.
whatever, I'm fine with that. Jordan Osterley,
I mean, 31 years old. I don't know if his contract comes off. He's less than 1 million. Um, I don't. I mean, he was way worse than Gilbert.
yeah.
Um,
Do
I
you
mean, he's
have, like, can we take him to Columbus and stuff him in that cannon and fucking fire him into the sun, or is that cool with you?
yeah, yeah. I mean, he's one of those guys. If he walks as a UFA, I don't care.
Don't give two fucks.
No.
Nikita
So
Ohochuk is becoming an RFA.
is he?
Yep.
Yeah. Let's give him 2 years.
Really? Oh, he was fucking terrible. I thought he
Yeah.
was.
I mean, what?
I thought he was worse than Osterley, and I did not like Osterley.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like
He's much
the
younger, right?
UFAs, I want to. Yeah, he's 23. The UFAs, I do want to see more of, and if we can keep him,
You mean the
if he in,
RFAs?
what's that, sir?
You mean the RFAs you want to see more of?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. If we can keep him in the A and see him through for another, he's another one we could do a 2 year, at 700,000, 750, whatever the minimum is right now, then whatever. I don't think he's going to get a lot of playing time unless he shows something, but I don't think it's a huge risk.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's a huge risk either. Um, and what I'm going to get into, like, the reason I'm talking about all these seventh defensemen is, like, half of them are playing on the AHL team and some of them are playing on the NHL team, and all they're doing is holding playing time back from who I'm expecting to be on the AHL squad next year, which is Hunter Brzustevich, Yoni Yermo, Etienne Morin. Maybe if we get one of those stud defensemen out of the top 10 of the draft, you got to make room for them. And the Flames have a ton of defensemen who don't really have much of an upside.
Mhm.
Like Brady Lyle's on this list, and like I wouldn't mind keeping him because he's not signing an NHL deal. He'd be signing an AHL deal, which
Yeah.
is like $700,000 less, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No, for
Colton
sure. Like,
Poolman, I think that experiment's over. Get the fuck off.
yeah,
Just release him.
exactly. Yeah, he can go. Yeah, he can go. Yeah, I
Back
mean,
to
I
like
want to make
significant people.
I want to make room for Kuznetsov or Soloviev, and see if they can be in the bottom four in the D side here. I would like to see Pahal still continue to be a flame. I don't
Yep.
want to see. I don't want him down. To be honest, I think he fits the mantra of what I want from a defenseman quite well.
Especially a
Um,
bottom pair defenseman. He's like the best bottom
yeah,
pair defenseman we've had since Michael Stone.
yeah, yeah, and in my opinion, if we um, Miromanov, if we end up using him as a way to move up in the draft, fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was excited to see him play. I've seen him play. The excitement's over. He was,
He's an
he was
adventurer.
okay.
A lot of people really like him. I don't mind him. I just think we have younger guys who
Yeah.
are likely to be similar, like Jeremy Poirier, for instance.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, and he's cheap, right? He's 1.25 million,
yeah,
but yeah, if he's
he's
taking
not
up a
coming off
spot,
though.
what's that? Sorry.
He's not coming off contract though. He's signed longer.
No, exactly. Yeah, he's got a 2-year extension.
Yeah,
Um, so, but I mean, if he's getting in the way of letting us see what we have and see some of the guys that we want from the A coming up, then I say move them. I don't. If we end up keeping Kuznetsov up for the season in his spot, that's fine with me.
so Kuznetsov
So,
is on my list. I'm just going to cross him off here. He's a player I think has potential to be like a at the best fourth or fifth defenseman, but like he's
mhm.
big. He's got a good attitude. He is very physical. He seems to be really good in the AHL.
Yeah. Mhm.
I didn't hate him in the NHL, but you
Yeah,
know,
I would be
it's made
okay
to
with
see, right?
I'd be okay with our top four being Uyghur, Anderson, Shillington, and Bahal, and then bringing in two guys from the Wranglers and just even if you have to bounce a couple of them throughout the season, fine. Let's see what they are, but let's fill those bottom two guys with guys from the A, and let's give them that promotion. Let's give them something to work for, and let's see what they are.
Okay, let's move on to goalies. I know we've already talked about Wolf. We already talked about Vladar, but
Mhm.
I don't want to extend him. He's up for extension. I don't want to extend him. I want to either trade him. I want to waive him or trade him. Those are the only two things I want.
Right. I mean, exactly. He still has one more season, so he's still a decent. I can't say decent tradable asset, but I think he has a market there for a trade. I know that we're not going to get much for him, which is fine with me. I think if we're trying to get Wolf into more games, it's a necessity to move out Vladar.
I agree. And this one's going to seem like a ridiculous thing to ask, but Oscar Dansk.
Um, I mean, who do we have play goal in the A if we don't sign him? No, I'm getting.
That's exactly it, right? Like
Yeah.
sign him for an AHL deal. He's been great for the Wranglers. He's actually been low key really good for the city of Calgary.
Right.
I'd like to keep him around. Be
Yeah.
a 1A, 1B in the AHL. That's it.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on to some forward. Actually, one more defenseman, Joel Hanley, who's up for extension. He's got one more year left.
Does he have one more?
Yeah. We picked him up off waivers.
Yeah, you're right.
Quick story on Joel Hanley. Chris Tanev gave him his house for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty common. NHL guys do that quite a bit. I think it's kind of cool. That's Weidman was what he gave up his for David Moss or something. I can't. No, that can't be right. No, the years don't line up.
Yeah, I was gonna say that doesn't line up, but
No.
I've heard of it happening before. But
Yeah, it's a
it's
common
been a
thing.
while since I've heard of it happening.
Yeah, I mean, he's got one more year, and at the end of that year, he's probably not going to be a Flame.
Yeah, I think he's an older player.
Yeah, 32.
He's a great seventh, but we have like
Mhm.
currently, if we're gonna roll it, like if we're gonna re-sign all these guys, we're Gilbert, Osterley, Hanley, like a Hochuk, like
Yeah,
there's too many seventh defensemen.
yeah,
Kuznetsov,
and
even Solovyov, like there's too many guys who are 6 or 7, right?
yeah,
Um,
and I totally understand why, why Craig, claimed guys like Hanley and Bahal. We got rid of three of our uh, our defensemen last year. So I mean, obviously, we had a large void to fill there.
yeah,
So I mean, I understand why he did it, but yeah, I don't do anything with Hanley. I don't think he's going to get a lot of playing time for the Flames next year, and yeah,
that's fine.
that bait.
Yeah. Um, okay, let's move on to some forwards. Dryden Hunt, we already talked about. Take him or leave him, but just don't play him in the top 9.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Connor Zary is up for an extension, but it's an RFA, so you can either take a risk and get him probably cheaper for a little while, or you can
Mhm.
wait a year and possibly have to pay more.
I mean,
I personally,
I mean,
I'm a huge fan, so I'd take a risk and try and sign him a little bit cheaper for 4 or 5 years. But
yeah,
I know you're
I
not
mean,
really into those, but
I'm not, but I mean, he's shown to me, he's shown enough to show that to prove that he can be, um, part of this thing moving forward. I have
a
no
big
problem
part of it too.
giving, yeah, I have no problem giving Azari, a 4 year deal, 5 year deal. I'm fine with it. If that can keep it down a little bit, and then pay him if he deserves it for a bigger contract after that.
I'm totally down for that. Walker Dewar, take him, leave him, whatever.
Yeah.
Yep. Rooney, same thing. He's up for an extension, not because he's just signed for another year, but
Yeah.
so he's up for an extension in this offseason. So take him, leave him. I don't really care. Um,
Yeah. At the end of next year, he'll be 31, and I don't dislike the guy,
yeah,
but that's not what we're trying to do here.
yeah, and like you got to remember, some of these guys are also the guys I'm going to start talking about here. Um, they're making like the reason I'm asking is because the AHL, you also have to make room for guys like Honzek and Lipinski and stuff like that, right? So Adam Klapka, do you keep him? Do you boot him? Like he's big. He seems to have a little bit of skill. Great attitude. I like him.
I like him.
Maybe doesn't play as big as you'd like him to, but
No, but he's still young, right? I
yeah,
think I think given the right opportunity and the right coaching, I think you could get him into being a really physical player. He seems to have that bit of an edge and that bit of a mean streak in him.
seen him
So
throw a guy down once,
yeah,
one time,
sure.
but
I think
he's only
I
played a
think
couple games, so
yeah, exactly. He's probably more worried about continuing to play another game, right?
yeah.
No, I give him a chance. I signed him for a couple of years as well. He's 23 years old. He's a big freaking guy out there, and I think if he's on our fourth line, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I keep wanting to say Blair Jones, but it is Ben Jones, not Blair Jones. That I'm living 15 years in the past. Um,
Right?
Ben Jones seems to be doing, AHL things in the AHL, and
Mhm.
probably could be a Dryden Hunt type of a player in the future. But
Sure.
take him or leave him. He's an RFA. He's relatively young. I'd probably just qualify him, and if he wants to take his qualifying offer, then cool. And if he doesn't, then whatever.
He's a UFA for next year.
Oh, is he? I thought he was an RFA. My bad.
UFA Group 6 did not accrue the required games by the age of 25. Not sure
Okay.
that means 100%, but yeah, I mean, exactly. If he wants to stick around and play in the A, then sure, give him a contract.
Yeah. Cole Schwint.
I want to see more of him personally. I know he had a couple of games this year he didn't look great in, but I still have hope for him to be, potentially a middle, hopefully a middle six player.
I'll give him maybe bottom 6, but you still need those guys, right? And you need them cheap, and you need them coming up through the minors, and you need to not be signing them. As much as I fucking love Blake Coleman, you need to not be signing them to, $5 million a year for several years, right?
Right.
So
Yeah. No, 100%. And I mean, he's still a UFA. We can do that with him again. Do the 2 year into RFA, and let's see it. I still think he's worth something and worth looking at and seeing if we can get him.
Yep.
Get him some playing time this year. Let's see what he is.
So what about this Riley Damiani kid? We did a minors swap with Dallas this year. I actually
I don't know
have
anything
no
about
book
him.
on this kid at all, so I can't really comment on him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. But if he wants to play in the A, then sure, sign him to a year or two. I get it.
Okay.
He's 24. I'm okay with $700,000 contracts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know much about him at all.
Yeah, me either. Okay, let's go on to the extensions with actual roster players now. Sharon Govich.
Me, yes, 100%.
Extension all day.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would go like maybe not long term, but semi long term, probably 4 or 5 years type of thing.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years gets him to 31, 32. Yeah, I'm okay with it. I really like watching him play.
Me too.
I'm a big fan of his.
Me too. How about Kuzi? Big Kuzi.
I would also extend him, but I would extend him and see what kind of see if he can continue with his happy demeanor next year and potentially use him as a dangling piece for a trade. But I mean, he's played very limited years in the NHL. I think he has a lot to offer, and I think that was a steal of a deal that Craig got there for Lindholm. I think let's give him a 3 or 4 year contract as well. He's 28 now, so give him a 3, get him to 31, and then we'll play it by ear after that.
I'm not quite ready for that. I really like him, but I wanted I don't want to do it this summer. I want, like you said, see if he can continue the happy demeanor. I'm sure he will, but more importantly, see if he can continue the production, because he was on pace for almost a point a game over the last few games of the season there, several games of the season. And he was injured and sick when he came over. From Vancouver, and he started off really well, kind of slowed down, and then came back from his injury and his sickness and completely lit it up. Completely gave our power play a kick in the ass. Our power play was the best power play in the league for a couple weeks there, which is mind blowing because our power play was the third worst power play in the league for the vast majority of the season. But I want to see if he starts next year well, even if it's not a
Mhm.
point a game, even if it's like 0.7 points a game, something like that, extend him.
Yep.
But
My
I just
my
want to see more.
worry.
Like I've seen a season of
Mhm.
Yegor Sharangovich. I've seen like a couple weeks combined of Kuzmenko,
Yeah. No,
like
that's
not even
fair.
a month, right? So I just want to see a little bit more before I'm comfortable extending them.
Yeah. No, and I can agree with that. My only fear, because I think his contract is too big for how much he's played in the league. And my worry is if he comes up and just lights it up in the first half of the season, then we're
Yeah.
fucking ourselves out of 2 million a year.
Yeah. And he's got one of those agents too. I believe he's got one of those agents who really squeezes you, but I don't know.
Clearly. I mean,
I just be worried about him, and he's like at least Sharon Govich has a little bit of defensive upside. Like
mhm.
Kuzmenko has zero of that. Um, but I don't know, like I'm so on the fence with Kuzmenko. Like it's not like I'd hate if they did. I just wouldn't until you know
Yeah.
a month into next season.
Yeah. No, and I do get that. I do understand what you mean. Um, so yeah, let's wait.
So
I mean, we're
remember that
already paying him
cannon
five
that
and a half.
we went to Columbus and stuffed Jordan Osterley in?
Yeah.
Got one guy left on this list that we've been talking about for the last 20 minutes or whatever. And I
Mm.
believe you're going to agree with me that this guy should get stuffed into the exact same cannon that Osterley's in.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Andrew Mangiapane.
Yeah. So I mean, fan base, he's worth a first. So let's just fucking trade him.
Yeah, I mean, if by a first you mean like a fourth or a fifth or maybe a sixth.
I mean, he's easily worth a third, in my opinion. But I
Mm.
think
If you
if
can
you
get
can
a
get rid of
third,
him,
I would not even fucking think twice. I don't think he's
no.
worth a third. I think a fourth max.
Mm.
But unless you're holding half of his salary, and then a third, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, for next year, and we're on the books for 46 million in forwards. So and if we're able to, pull the trigger on a Markstrom deal, so we're getting rid of six, but we'd have to bring in somebody that's probably getting paid 4.5 to 5. Um, I mean,
I don't
we
mind.
have the cap room, right?
Yeah, I don't mind holding salary on anybody we're trading. Right, like we
No.
won't have any salary retention spots filled up because Hannafin and Tanev are both off.
Mhm.
Um,
Exactly.
so it doesn't really matter to me the whole salary retention thing unless it's
Yeah.
fucking Kadri or Huberdeau or something like that, right? That would be a little rough to deal with. Um,
Yeah. Well, that'd be rough to deal with just because of the length of the contract.
yeah,
You know.
but when it comes to Mangiapane, it would be one more year, and you'd be holding like a maximum of what is it like 2.65 or something like that, 2.75, 2.65,
Mhm.
something like that. That's whatever. I
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Or 2.9. But yeah. So that's fine. Yeah. I
2.9.
don't.
My math
Yeah.
sucks.
That'd be half the 5,800, right? So if it, yeah, 5.8. So yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you do not re-sign him. Period. I don't want to see him playing games next year, but yeah.
I don't want to see him play one game, and the thing is he's still signed for another year.
Mhm.
And I know for a fact that Craig Conroy loves this guy. I know for a fact that the analytics community is like fucking continuously jerks him off. I don't get it. I just like I don't care how many expected goals this fucker has. he has no goals. He's got
Yeah.
he's got $1.5 million worth of goals instead of his $5.8 million worth of salary. He's got about fucking $7 worth of being able to skate without falling over. Like I just shoot them out of a cannon, right to the moon, right to the sun.
Yeah.
Never come
The
back.
experiment is over. It's gone on long enough. Everybody wants to paint the guy from his one outlier season with 35 goals.
Yeah.
Other than that, he's never hit 20.
Yeah,
in the 6 years he's played.
And the thing is if you're not getting a guy who's scoring goals, like how many third line players can you get every year in free agency or coming out of your system who can play solid defense? Like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's all people seem to like about him. Oh, but he's fine defensively, and it's like, well, if you move him off of Backlund's line, he's terrible in everything.
Yeah.
If you put him on Backlund's line, then he's fine defensively in analytics because he's playing with somebody who is actually good defensively.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, two players who are actually good defensively. So
I would honestly rather pay Coronado 5.8 to be in his spot. Now, I'm not saying I want Coronado to be signing a 5.8 deal. I'm just saying that I would rather him in that spot for that money today.
Remember in the preseason when they said I'd rather my dead grandmother than Mangiapane on the team? And then you said, well, my dead grandmother would probably be on the ice just as often, laying down on the ice just as often as Andrew Mangiapane.
Yeah, it was a bad joke, and I apologize.
No, don't apologize because you're right. She was a fantastic person, but she couldn't skate worth shit.
Right? Probably not. Well, skates were different back then too, right? So in her defense, those leather skates were the not a lot of ankle support, which is kind of what Mangiapane looks like on the ice currently.
Yeah,
like he's wearing leather skates from 1962, and anyways,
has absolutely no ankle strength.
None. You could blow him out. You could be a smoker and still blow him over.
True. Do you want to get into the playoffs at all, or should we just wait for next episode and kind of recap our predictions for the first round, and then after the first round's over?
Yeah, why don't we wait until the first round's over?
Okay. Well, in that case, I think we're pretty much over here. Definitely smash that like button. Make sure you check us out on Facebook, ArmChair GM Podcast. Talk to me on Reddit. You'll see me all over the Flames subreddit. Talk to Chris on Twitter at ArmChair GM _pod. And share the video, tell your friends. Cheers. Go Flames, go. And big off season coming, really exciting. I really hope Conroy continues on with his strong management skills, his strong asset management prowess, as it were.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's up to you, Craig. And Craig, we trust. So get it done. Make us proud. Till next time, everybody. Go Flames. Cheers.
Cheers.